Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello, I am Dr. Himanshu Tyagi and I am teaching this course on heat and mass transfer. Today we will continue the topic of forced convection in internal flows. So let us look what we have covered till last lecture. So in the last lecture we had started this topic of forced convection in internal flows, and we have looked at some simple cases that we may face in our daily life where we want to heat a fluid, let us say from 10 degree to 40 degree or to 50 degree. For that we usually use a geyser, which apparently is something very simple. So we just wrap around a electrical coil around a tube, and if we are giving some heat input to this particular tube, then the temperature inside the tube is going to rise, like we have shown in case 1 over here. Where we taking case 1 and case 2 is because in nature generally two types of heatings are available more conveniently. One is that we can give the constant heat flux throughout the pipe. The other one is we can keep the outer temperature of the pipe fixed. So these are the two cases that we will look. In the first case we have looked at where the heat flux is constant throughout the pipe, and here we see very interesting result that the mean temperature of the fluid increases linearly from an initial temperature to a final temperature. So in this case we have taken from 10 degrees to 50 degree, and we applied the energy balance equation, then convective heat transfer value of Q dot we have written in these two expressions, and then we have, after analyzing it, we have figured out that some initial understanding we have obtained, that how does the fluid mean temperature increase with distance, how does the surface temperature of the copper pipe increase with distance, but there are a lot of unknowns that we have not figured out. So in the rest of this particular topic we are going to figure out the values of these parameters. Then similarly we did a very simple case for case number 2, where the outer temperature for this particular pipe is kept constant temperature. Here we have assumed that steam is condensing on the outside. So the whole surface is at 100 degree centigrade, and we want to achieve the same objective. We want to take a fluid which goes in at 10 degrees and it should come out at 50 degrees. So here if we see the temperature profile is given by this red curve over here. There we can clearly see that this particular curve is non-linear, and we would like to figure out how does the temperature rise. So these are the unknown parameters that we want to figure out. What else did we do last time? We looked at the simple case of laminar flow inside a pipe, and we looked at what would be the average velocity according to the known velocity profile in laminar flow over here. So the known profile is a parabolic kind of a profile as shown in this particular figure, and we are interested in figuring out what is the average velocity. So we did that exercise and came up with this expression over here, and similar thing we try to do for the average temperature, because of this case where we are heating the pipe. The fluid which is very close to the pipe, shown with this circle, blue circle over here, this fluid will attain very close temperature to Ts, but the fluid in between, in the middle over here, it will remain slightly at the lower temperature. So we would have some sort of a non-uniform temperature profile, but is there a way we can represent it with average temperature? That expression we have figured out over here by simply doing the energy balance for both the cases. Then we went and looked at the critical Reynolds number, which for flow inside pipes is 2300. So any flow which is taking inside a circular pipe or any other shaped pipe, if the Reynolds number we have calculated turns out to be greater than 2300, then we can safely assume that the flow has turned turbulent. Then I think this is where we had stopped last time. We were looking at the entrance region, and here we are looking for two type of entrance region. The first one shown in this slide is the hydrodynamic entrance region, where we can see the velocity boundary layers on both sides have developed and merged at this particular point. So, the location of this point gives us the entrance length, which we represent as LH over here. We have the expression for that also, which depends on the Reynolds number. And we also figured out that after this particular location, the flow has turned fully developed. So, we can write very easily in fully developed flow that the variation of the velocity, which is given as symbol u, it does not vary with x, which means del u by del x we can take as 0. And because of that, this equation tells us that u only varies as a function of r. So, once this profile is fixed, let us say at location A, then the same thing we will get at location B. So, this I think is where we had stopped last time. Now, we would like to continue the same analysis for the entrance region, but this time we will do it for the thermal region, which means what I want to do on this particular diagram over here is draw the thermal boundary layer. So, let us say the thermal boundary layer is up till this particular point. So, both the surfaces thermal boundary layer have merged over here. Let me draw the coordinate system as well. So, when the flow enters this particular pipe, it is at a uniform velocity v and the uniform temperature T. And this temperature we can represent over here with the uniform profile over here. So, it looks rectangular in shape, and I can draw it using the green color like this. So, the length of this particular line over here, it represents the temperature T, and this is the inlet temperature. So, I will represent it with Ti. This is the inlet temperature. Now, similar to the hydrodynamic case, over here also we have this zone that we will call as the entrance zone over here, and this length we will represent by LT. The subscript T stands for thermal, and this we will denote as the thermal entrance length. And it so turns out this LT is a direct function of LH, which we have already figured out over here on the previous slide. So, it simply turns out that LT is simply Prandtl multiplied by LH, and LH value we already knew was 0.05 Reynolds. Now, it becomes times multiplied by Prandtl multiplied by D. So, this is the value of LT. So, this is the expression we can use, and I will write on top over here that we are doing all these things for laminar flow. So, we are assuming that the flow is totally laminar. Now, in the fully developed region, which is all this region over here, that is the fully developed region, how would the temperature profile look like? So, let me try and draw the temperature profile at a given point. Let us say at this point A over here. So, I will draw a vertical line. Now, as we have seen earlier that the temperature near the boundaries, these 2 points should be higher than the temperature in the middle. And what is the reason for that? Because we are supplying heat from the boundary over here. So, the heat input takes place at the boundary of the pipe, and the temperature of the boundary itself, which is given as Ts, is much larger than that of the Ti. That is why we are able to heat the fluid with the help of the pipe, right. So, we go back over here and we try and see how can we draw this temperature profile. So, let me go and try and attempt this particular drawing. So, what we will see is the temperature is maximum at the edges of the pipe, and towards the center of the pipe over here the temperature is minimum. And if I wish, I can denote some sort of average temperature for this whole thing, and I can represent it as T average. So, this one I will represent it as T average. The rest of the green profile I can represent it as TR as a function of x. So, here temperature is function of both radial direction as well as axial direction. Now, let me go ahead and draw the temperature profile at point B also. So, point B is little bit downstream over here. Now, what will the temperature profile at point B look like? So, if we remember from our earlier analysis for velocity profile, let us go back one slide. In velocity profile, we were saying that once the flow is fully developed, then the velocity profile has to remain exactly the same. So, there is no difference between these A and B velocity profile, both are parabolic profile and exactly the same. That is why we could say del u by del x turns out to be 0. It is only a function of r. Over here, we cannot have del t by del x is equals to 0. So, I want to ask this question to the students, why can't we have the rise in temperature with distance as 0? Because del t by del x tells me the temperature gradient, which means essentially how much temperature is rising with distance. And I think we have given the answer ourselves, because when we are heating the fluid inside the pipe, the temperature has to rise with distance. That is the job of this particular pipe. So, temperature cannot be constant, whether it is the fluid temperature, I will write it as Tmx, or if we are in the constant flux condition, then Tsx. So, both the surface temperature of the pipe also increases with x, as well as the fluid mean temperature or the fluid average temperature. Mean and average both are same. So, if we see on this particular slide, the way we have to draw this temperature profile is that we have to show that temperature average value itself has increased. So, let me draw it in this way so that it becomes clear over here, and let me draw it like this. So, I will draw the temperature profile at point B like this, and you can clearly see by the length of these lines over here that temperature at each radial position has now increased, and I can put the T average dotted line like this. So, earlier T average I will say is subscript A. So, this is T average at point A, and this value I will say is T average at point B. In other words, these points will lie at different axial positions over here. So, I can call this as point A and point B. So, clearly according to this particular curve, TB is much greater than TA, right? Sorry. Which means I cannot say, I will put a cross over here, I cannot say del T del by del x is 0. In fact, in the fully developed region, it so happens temperature will definitely rise, but the important thing is, if we look at the shape of the temperature profile, it will remain the same. What I mean by that, let us go back to this particular curve over here. This is the shape of the temperature profile. This remains the same exactly over here. It has just shifted from a lower value to a higher value over here. How do I represent this particular shape in terms of the differential term? I can write it in this way, that del by del x of not the temperature, but the difference in temperature, the surface temperature minus the fluid temperature divided by the surface temperature minus the mean temperature of the fluid. So, this whole parameter is equals to 0 if I am considering fully developed region. So, this thing is true for fully developed region, which means instead of saying simply del T by del x is 0, this I cannot say, so I am putting a cross over here, but this thing I can say, so I can put a check mark over here. So, this is an important relationship that we will use from now onwards, and we will try and see that for pipes, what is the type of temperature profile that we get. This is something that we will figure out very soon. All this analysis till now we have done for laminar flow. Let us try and also see that what are the results for turbulent flow. That for turbulent flow, let us look at the entrance length, and very interesting result we get, that in turbulent flow, both the hydrodynamic and the thermal entrance length both are independent of Reynolds number, and they are simply 10 into d. So, let us compare this very interesting result for turbulent case with the laminar case over here. So, what are the terms which are absent over here? There is no Reynolds number relationship, there is no Prandtl number effect over here, and more or less, and moreover, very interesting thing we are seeing, that both the hydrodynamic and the thermal entry length are actually same. So what could be the reason for this? That there is no dependence on Reynolds number, there is no dependence on Prandtl, and how can for all Prandtl numbers, whatever is the type of fluid, as long as it is turbulent, it has a fixed entry length. So I have a diameter of d, entry length becomes 10d. So let's say I take a 1 inch diameter pipe, so entrance length is fixed for turbulent flow, it is just 10 inches. So it so happens whether it is velocity boundary layer or the thermal boundary layer, if there is huge amount of turbulence which is present, so huge amount of mixing is taking place, and that is the main phenomena which is making the boundary layer disappear. So the boundary layer is actually coming together from the top side and the bottom side. So that particular length is not governed by the gradient of velocity, it is just mainly governed by the amount of huge mixing which is taking place. And one of the factors is the Reynolds stresses and the Reynolds thermal conduct or the turbulent stresses, the turbulent viscosity rather, sorry. So instead of mu we have added mu plus mu t. I think 2 lectures back we did that. Instead of thermal conductivity K, we said it is K plus KT, and that subscript T stood for turbulence. So turbulence actually enhances all these things. So entrance length which would have been maybe 100 d or 1000 d has just come down to 10 d. So it's very interesting result. So please note, make note of this particular thing. Another interesting thing that we see over here is, let us look at the variation of H and F with X. So what we are trying to figure out is how does this vary and how does the Darcy friction factor vary with X inside a pipe. So if I make a rough pipe over here, let us say over here, and let me consider a special case where Prandtl number value is greater than 1. So I am just picking some value greater than 1, let it be Prandtl value is 2. So if Prandtl value is greater than 1, then can the students tell that which length will be greater? Will the hydrodynamic length be greater or the thermal entrance length be greater? So I think we can immediately recall that in that particular case we have this kind of relationship for laminar flow, at least there is a linear relationship between that, which means we will get that the thermal entrance length is twice the hydrodynamic entrance length. So this thing let me draw over here. So I will draw first the hydrodynamic entrance length over here is this much, and then I will draw the thermal entrance length, which has to be twice the length over here. So from here to here is LT, and from here to here we have LH. So this is the hydrodynamic entrance length and LT is the thermal entrance length, and this we are doing for Prandtl value equals to 2. Now the interesting thing that we see, and I will draw the curve for that over here on the same scale, is that when we are talking about the Darcy friction factor, so F over here I will define is the Darcy friction factor, and it is actually very useful in flow in pipes and ducts, because generally delta P pressure drop is given by this relationship over here. And this is a very interesting parameter. So over here the Darcy friction factor will be determined by this particular length, heat transfer coefficient will be determined by this length over here. And what we will figure out is very soon that the Darcy friction factor is very high initially. So this y axis is either Hx or it is Fx. So both of them represent on the same scale, and once the flow has become fully developed, then the value of Fx remains constant. So what I have drawn over here is Fx, and then let me go ahead and draw the value of Hx. So these are some qualitative curves that I am drawing, and this expression is for Hx. The interesting thing is that Hx varies for a longer time, longer distance rather, which is Lt. This is the same as this Lt over here, because I have tried to pick the same distances, and this thing is same as this LH over here, sorry. And for the Darcy friction factor, it so turns out that the length over here is LH. These things will be very useful to us when we are analyzing the flow inside a pipe, and we can clearly see from this particular curve over here that H value as well as F value both attain constant values once the flow becomes fully developed. Once the flow is hydrodynamically fully developed, F value becomes constant from that point itself. Once the flow has become thermally fully developed, H value becomes constant after that. So, actually if I can say so, these relations over here as well as this curve reminds us of the topic that we have studied earlier, where we had looked for the external forced convection. If you remember, for external forced convection also we have looked at H, where it used to go down, then suddenly transition is there and then it goes down again over here, and this we are drawing for the boundary layer case. So, here we have the transition and then so laminar boundary layer L, then this is TR is transition, then it is turbulent over here. So, Hx value is also going like this, and along with Hx was Cfx. So, in the case of flat plate or external flow, we have the expression for Cfx, which is coefficient of friction, and very similar expression we are having over here for the Darcy friction factor. So, F is kind of like a cousin of Cfx, and then behavior we are seeing almost similar for both cases over here. So, then very interesting, this one goes from here to there. So, both of these are actually interlinked. So, from a fluid point of view, whether it is flowing inside the pipe or over a flat plate, behavior is kind of similar. So, for human being, the way we define it is different, that in one case when the drag force is slowing some plate down, then we are interested in calculating what is the shear stress over there, which is force divided by area. But when we are talking about pipes, there also we are interested in force per area, but we are not calling it shear stress, there we are calling delta P or the pressure drop. So, some case we write it as Cf and some case we write it as F. So, students may want to revise this particular part, it is very interesting and very useful later on. Now, we come to the general thermal analysis of the flow inside the pipe, and let us go ahead and do this thing, because this will give us lot of answer. So, we will look at general thermal analysis, and as earlier what we have tried to do is, we will do it for two cases once again. So, case 1 will again be where the heat flux is constant, and later on we will look at case 2 where the exterior temperature is constant, temperature of the surface is constant. So, let me draw the pipe over here. This is the entrance region, over here is the entrance length. Then based on it, we have just figured out, I can draw the value of, this is the thermal entrance length, I can draw the Hx. So, up till this point over here, I can draw dot up till here. The H value is very high initially, and then it reduces after the flow has become fully developed, then the H value becomes constant. I think this is what we have already looked at. Now, we are wanting to look at very interesting case, that what is going to be the temperature rise inside this particular flow given these following conditions. So, the first condition that I am going to apply is that Q dot is constant. So, I am putting the constant heat flux from all sides. It is essentially that problem where we are trying to heat the water, which is going in at temperature Ti and coming in at temperature Te. Te stands for exit temperature, Ti stands for inlet temperature. So, I think we have already looked at that particular case where this is the inlet temperature, and at length L, let us say over here length L, I know the exit temperature, I want to figure it out, and this is how, this is the, I am putting arrow over here because this is the direction in which flow is taking place. So, we have seen that for temperature rise is always linear, because For each interval of length, I am adding equal amount of heat. So, mCp delta T tells me that for each interval there will be the same amount of increment in temperature. Now, let us try and analyze what will be the surface temperature as a function of x. And I think we have looked at it earlier that surface temperature will always be higher. So, this what I am drawing over here is Tsx, then the mean temperature of the fluid by a temperature difference delta T, right. But now we have to do it in more realistic case, and we have to ask a question that what happens from this point onwards. So, this point represents LH, sorry LT, this is the thermal entrance length LT, sorry. Now, I can figure out the temperature profile in this particular zone that I will show in yellow. I am interested in figuring out what will be the pipe temperature in this zone by looking at this result over here. What I mean is, I already have the trend for Hx because it starts off with very high value near x equals to 0, Hx value is very high, and then as x increases, Hx value is dropping. This is the local convective heat transfer coefficient. After the flow has become fully developed, it then remains constant throughout. But what I am interested in over here is figuring out how will be the trend, what will be the trend of temperature of the pipe over here. So, let me go ahead and draw it like this. If I draw it like this, let us say, is it correct, or should I have drawn it with the same linear slope? Which means, should I have drawn it with the orange color which I am trying to pick over here? Would it have been like this? Would that have been correct, or this red one is correct? What do the students think? Maybe this orange one I will draw again, this one. Is this correct or the red one correct? So, if I can write a mathematical expression, that will make it very clear apparently. So, I can write that Q dot S, the amount of heat added over here is simply heat flux times area, which if I use the convective heat transfer definition, then it is simply Ts minus Tm, and if I use the thermodynamic relationship, it is simply m dot Cp T exit minus Ti, and all of these I am getting in terms of watts. So, what we have written over here is this particular expression, as you can see with the black ink on the right hand side. The same thing I can simplify and just write with this thing over here as Q dot S is simply H into delta T, where this delta T is Ts minus Tm, and it comes directly from here. Now, we are able to predict the value of delta T based on the variation in H, because I will remind the students that Q dot S is a constant, it is not varying with x, right, which means at those locations where the H value is very high, let us say in this zone over here, I am showing on the Hx curve, here the H value is very high, automatically it means that delta T has to be very low, and delta T is represented by this particular arrow over here. So, when H is constant, delta T is fixed up till this point over here. When H starts increasing in this particular diagram over here, now my delta T has to start decreasing more and more, which means now I can go ahead and erase this yellow region and the orange region, and then I will draw this thing with the darker red color over here. So, this is what we are actually getting, and this is the correct form in the entrance zone. Is this point clear? This will also help us figure out the expression for Te from here. So, if I equate these two equations from here, I can get the value of Te as a function of Ti. It is simply Q dot As divided by m dot Cp. And similarly, if I equate these two equations over here, I can get Ts value as Tm plus Q dot S by H. Another interesting thing that we see is that higher the value of H, lower will be the gap in delta T, which means that if the H value instead of being 500, it becomes 5000 watts per meter square Kelvin. What will happen to this curve over here? I can draw it again. The bottom curve will remain like that. The top curve will become very close to it up till there, and then it will come here. So here we have shown that H value, if it increases, then delta T has become very, very small. And this is very interesting actually. And looking at this particular thing over here, as well as from these equations, what we can get is the gradient of temperature turns out to be a constant. In the fully developed region, we can clearly write the mean temperature gradient along x is equal to the surface temperature variation with x, and this I can write in general simply this thing. So, this is a very powerful equation, and we can further equate it to this thing becomes equal to q dot p by m dot Cp, which is turned out to be a constant, right? And how did we get this particular expression? Let's try and figure out how did we get this thing. From previous slide, I will just copy one equation that I have written, which is exit temperature is inlet temperature plus q dot As divided by m dot Cp. So, two parameters I want to introduce over here. As I will write as perimeter of the tube multiplied by its length, and this is very simple because if this is the perimeter of the tube and this is the length, then the whole surface area As is simply perimeter into length, and for cylinder perimeter value is 2 pi r naught, because the perimeter is a circle. So, As value we have written over here. Now, instead of writing in terms of L, if I have to define it in terms of x, which means now I want to say that instead of exit temperature, I want to find the temperature at mean temperature at point x, then I will write it in this form: q dot, instead of As, there it will become p into x. So, instead of length, I will change it with x. And I will add over here, if I make x equals to L, then I get this top equation. Is this point clear? Now, once I differentiate over here with x, I will get first this, then this particular thing, and this term that I am getting, I think students can immediately realize this is something I already had over here. So, this q dot p divided by m dot Cp, and for all fixed quantities it is actually a constant. So, here we are getting a constant slope, and this whole equations, I hope you are able to write them, is simply saying in figures that this is a constant slope line over here. Maybe I will draw it with yellow thing, that this is a constant slope, this is a constant slope, both are having the same slopes, and that slope value is this. So, this is the slope of that particular line, because dt by dx is essentially giving us the slope. So, this is what we wanted to do in the general thermal analysis for case 1. We have figured out lot of those parameters which we did not know earlier. Now, let us do the same exercise for case 2, where we will be having the constant temperature of the pipe. So, in case 2, we will have Ts equals to constant, and I can draw it like this. Over here we are still heating the pipe, so we are providing q dot. It is just that here q dot will be a function of x, it is not constant, rather the surface temperature Ts, that is constant. So, here again we will have a boundary layer, and the similar analysis we will do. over here, that H value if I draw with X, here it will be very high, then it remains constant, this is the same thing. And now I want to draw the temperature of the fluid as a function of X over here. This is my, the first thing I will draw is the temperature of the surface as a function of X, so that will be a constant over here. So this is Ts. And why have I drawn it? Because that's the boundary condition. Our surface temperature is constant. So that Ts does not vary with X. Now the interesting thing we will see over here is, if my inlet temperature is known, let us say over here T inlet is 10 degrees and I want that length of my geyser which gives me exit temperature as 50 degrees. So I know this, and the Ts value we have taken as 100 degrees. So this is 100 degrees, so 50 is somewhere over here. And I think we have done some analysis to show that we don't know the exact nature of this curve, but it won't be a straight line over here, it will be a curved line. And another interesting thing that we are seeing over here is that our delta T is now itself a function of X. These are all delta T's. But these delta T's are not constant. Like earlier on, it was the constant slope, so delta T was constant. Here delta T is very large to begin with, then it becomes small, and then it becomes smaller and smaller. So we have to figure out how does this delta T is actually changing. So let us try and, so I will just write what this particular curve is. This is the mean temperature as a function of X. This thing on top is Ts. Now let us write the rate of heat transfer over here. So convection always we can write as H A into some delta T. And we have to figure out the value of this delta T. So should it be this delta T I should take? Should I take this one or should I take this one? Let me also define one more parameter over here that I will call as the bulk mean fluid temperature, which is simply Ti plus Te divided by 2, and this is an important parameter. So please note this one down. This is the bulk mean fluid temperature. So the question which comes to us now is that we know all the parameters, but we don't know this thing in red color that I am writing over here, delta T average. So I am going to ask this question, what is the value of delta T average? Should we take the first delta T and the last delta T over here? So I will call it delta T inlet, delta T exit. So one answer is, should it be option number 1? So should it be delta T inlet plus delta T exit divided by 2? So in this particular case, our delta T inlet is Ts minus Ti, delta T exit is Ts minus Te divided by 2, and we can do the numbers also. This will be 100 minus 10 plus 100 minus 50 divided by 2, 90 plus 50 divided by 2, should it be 70 degrees? So that is option number 1. We have to figure it out. So what we are going to end up doing is, in order to figure this thing out, let us not do the guesswork, let us do energy balance. And this we will do on the next slide. And what we are going to do is take a small slice of this particular pipe over here, which will be of thickness dx, and there we will try and figure out how much temperature rise do we have over here. Here the mean temperature is Tmx, here the mean temperature is Tmx plus delta x, and this temperature rise is only because of one thing, and that one thing is how much heat is entering over here. So that heat also we can figure out how much heat is entering. If I ask the question to students that from a hot surface to the fluid, mean fluid temperature, so it is just the convective heat transfer. So over here small dq dot, I can maybe write it is H into small dA area multiplied by Ts minus T mean. Whether I take T mean x or T mean x plus delta x, because the temperature difference is very small. So, let me go ahead and do that on the next slide. So, I am doing exactly this particular energy balance over here, and I am taking this particular section having the width as dx, and I want to find out how much heat is being added over here through convection and how much temperature rise I am getting over here. Tmx m dot Cp Tmx plus dx. So, if I do this energy balance, it turns out to be very straightforward and simple. I can simply say the rate of increase of the internal energy is simply m dot Cp dt, and m I am putting for the mean temperature, and the amount of convection heat transfer which has entered over here is simply h into dAs, small area, Ts minus Tm. Is this okay? I hope you are able to see how we have done the energy balance on this particular control volume over here. So, it is simply the amount of heat which has entered is equal to the increase in the internal energy of that particular fluid. So, if let us say 10 watts of energy enter, so m dot Cp into delta T should be equivalent to 10 watts. That is the amount of internal energy which goes up. Now, over here we will define dAs as the perimeter times dx. So, perimeter for the cylindrical pipe we have already figured out is 2 pi r naught. So, with this particular definition, I think I can move things around and try and solve this particular differential equation. How can I do that? I will first simplify it and write it in this form. I will say dTm divided by Ts minus Tm, and I can take everything else on the right hand side. So, h dAs will now become h into P into dx, and the only thing I have to divide it with is m dot Cp, right. So, this whole thing is a constant. As a matter of fact, now I can simplify it in one more form. Can I make the numerator over here same as the denominator? So, I am creating differential of Ts minus Tm divided by Ts minus Tm. The only thing I have to do is put a negative sign now. So, I will take the negative sign on the other side, and I am writing Hp divided by m dot Cp dx. So, I hope students are not confused how I am able to write this thing over here. I can do it if I remember one small thing that I will put over here. Remember, in case 2, which is what we are solving, Ts is a constant. So, the temperature of the pipe throughout remains the same, it is constant, which means I can always take an additional differential of a constant because it will turn out to be 0. The only thing I have to worry about is the negative sign, because instead of dTm, I am now taking differential of minus Tm. So, in order to cancel out this minus sign, I have put an additional minus over here. So, both of them cancel out. So, this is the correct equation. Now, I can differentiate both sides. I can do an integral, not differentiate, I will take an integral on both sides. So, I will integrate this over here, integrate it over here. What are the limits that I want to put on this particular integral? On the right hand side, I am integrating for the full pipe. So, from 0 length to length L. On the left hand side, I am integrating for mean temperature. So, initially mean temperature is Ti, and finally mean temperature is Te. So, inlet temperature to exit temperature I am integrating. So, integral on the left hand side is very straightforward. What I will get is a logarithmic Ts minus Tm with the limits Ti to Te, and the right hand side it is a very simple, it turns out to be minus HPL m dot Cp, which means once I solve this by putting the limits over here, what I will get is essentially T exit temperature will become known to me is minus, this is Ts minus Ts minus Ti divided by e to the power minus h, and what is this thing next to h? P times L, perimeter into length will give me as, right. So, this is A times S, and the denominator will remain the same, denominator is m dot Cp. So, this is the final answer that we have obtained, and it is kind of like a exponential function that we have seen with a minus sign over there, and this is what this thing looks like. So, I can put a dash over here. So, we have figured out how this thing will actually increase. It is a decaying exponential function with a minus sign, so it is slightly increasing. So, initially the slope is going to be the largest, whether we are increasing the temperature or decreasing the temperature, and the slope will keep on going lower and lower. That is what it is showing us. One very important parameter we will now define over here, this is a very interesting thing, is this particular thing on the fraction over here. So, I will call it NTU, and this thing will be defined as HAS divided by m dot Cp, and this NTU stands for number of transfer units. And let us learn what does this NTU actually tell us about. Let me, for that explaining that part, let me draw some curves. So, the same temperature profile I am drawing over again over here. Ts is constant, so my pipe surface temperature remains constant. Inlet is fixed, so Ti is 10 degrees, Ts is 100 degree. Now, different people are running this experiment, and the first person gets something like this. The temperature drop is very low, like this. This is the temperature rise. So, I will call it case 1. In another case, I repeat the same experiment and I get like this case. So, this is run number 2, and in the third run, I get almost closest temperature to this. So, this is run number 3. Then I run another case, and over here I am getting something like this. This I will call as run 4. So, on all these runs I will put an arrow over here, and this is important. Why? Because we are taking a pipe of particular length L. In all cases length is fixed, inlet temperature is fixed 10 degrees, outside is steam which is condensing. So, Ts is also fixed 100 degrees, and now I am getting different values of Te. In the fourth case, I am getting values just 15 degrees, only 15 degree rise in temperature is there. Over here maybe it is the 40 degree, here it is 80 degree, and here it is 95 degree. Now, the question comes, what is the difference between run 1, 2, 3 and then 4? 4 is the least one. So, very quick answer a heat transfer engineer can give is the NTU value is changing, which means I can write over here NTU value for this one is maybe very close to 0, very close to, maybe it is 0.1. On the last one, NTU value is very close to 5 or 6 or 7, it could be very large, and somewhere in between these NTU values is about, maybe here it is 2, here NTU is about 3. And let me remind what was NTU on the previous slide. It was simply HAS divided by m dot Cp, and it was unitless, there is no units, and it was called the number of transfer units. So, what this curve actually tells us is, if the number of transfer unit is, let us say, very low, it is 0.1. Okay. Now, let us look at this equation. How can the number of transfer unit be very low? Which means all of these 4 parameters we can play around. Maybe NTU was 0.1 because H value was very low, or H was not low, but m dot was very high. What does m dot high mean? In my pipe, I am running fluid with very high velocity. I am not giving it even time to gain the heat. So, if in the very long pipe, 1 meter pipe, I am pushing in fluid at, let us say, 10 meters per second. So, the fluid comes in and only in 0.1 second it has gone out. So, it has only spent 0.1 second inside. Even if the surface temperature is high, 100 degrees centigrade, this fluid is only going to increase from 10 degree to maybe 12 degree or 13 degree. Which means, if we ask the fluid will then answer that my NTU value was so low because you have kept the m dot value very high. So, as a responsible engineer, then we can go and say, okay, let me reduce the m dot value, let me reduce it 10 times, or not 10 times, maybe let me reduce it, maybe 10 times. So, from point 1, maybe I will go to NTU value of 1 or 2. So, what am I doing physically? I am allowing the fluid to travel slowly through this particular pipe, so that it is able to absorb the heat from the pipe, and then you see the exit temperature, instead of being 15 degree, now the temperature has risen to 40 degree. I can further reduce the value of m dot, even make it very slow, then it goes to 80 degree, which is what I want. Then I reduce it further more, it goes to about 95 or 98 degree. So, usually in engineering practices, we do not target more than NTU 5 or 10, because after that the rise in temperature is very, very small. Maybe for NTU 5 we will already get like 99 degrees. Then if you make it NTU 6 or 7, then it will just increase by slight amount, that 99.5 or 99.6. So, that amount is not very large. So, this is the significance of NTU. Just like m dot, we can vary the value of h also over here. So, NTU is just the ratio, the product and division of these 4 parameters. We can play around with each of these parameters. We can increase the length of the pipe as well. So, it is a very interesting case. Now, what we actually get, so this was one thing I wanted to explain. Now, we go back to this particular thing over here. And why are we doing this exercise? We go back to the previous case over here. We were asking this question, that what should be the average temperature over here. Now, we have solved the answer, that average this delta T average, what should we take, that we will get from this equation over here. Okay. We will get some sort of a logarithmic term. So, what is that logarithmic term? So, we can write this as delta T Lm is essentially delta Te minus delta Ti divided by log delta Te divided by delta Ti, and this term is known as the log mean temperature difference. So, this is the log mean temperature difference, and this units will turn out to be in degrees centigrade. So, it is just a temperature term, and I will put a box around it. Now, this log mean temperature difference expression tells me which value should I plug in when I am trying to calculate the rate of heat transfer for a case number 2, which means when Ts is constant. And let me also define this delta Te and delta Ti. This is very easy to define. Delta Te is simply Ts minus Te, Ti is simply Ts minus Ti. So, what it tells me graphically over here is Ts was always to be remain constant, this thing was going on exponentially over here. So, this log mean temperature difference, how do I calculate? The first term I will calculate is this is delta Ti, which I am getting from here, delta Ti. This thing I am getting is delta Te, and instead of taking the arithmetic average, which would be this temperature difference divided by 2, that will turn out to be over here. So, this I will take is the arithmetic mean, and in this particular case it is wrong. I cannot take arithmetic mean. So, I have put a cross over here, I cannot take it. I have to take the logarithmic mean. So, I have to take a log mean temperature difference in order to figure this out. So, I have solved a very simple solved example just to illustrate this point. Let me go ahead and do that in the next 1.5 minutes, so that this point becomes very clear, and this is kind of a solved example. And it is almost like this, that Ts is always same at 100 degrees, and the inlet temperature and the outlet temperatures are known to me. So TE is 80 degrees centigrade, T inlet is 20 degrees centigrade. So this is temperature as a function of X. This L also is known to me. So this is essentially flow inside a pipe over here. So what are the things which are known to me are as follows. The mass flow rate is given as 0.1 kgs per second. The diameter of this pipe is known to me as 5 centimeters. So it's like a 2-inch pipe. Average heat transfer coefficient is also known to me as 500 watts per meter square Kelvin, and what we need to find in this problem is the value of L. So I'm kind of a designer who wants to figure out what length do I need under these conditions to take a cold fluid which was at 20 degrees centigrade and heat it to 80 degrees centigrade with the help of steam which is condensing outside the pipe. Now over here we can immediately take this particular expression on the previous slide, this particular expression, I am putting a red star, and the definition of log mean temperature difference, and we will just solve it in 1 minute. How? So we will just write Q dot over here is simply HAS log mean temperature difference. So where will area length come over here? So AS I can write in terms of perimeter, which is pi d into L, and this is 30 Lm. So from here I can clearly get the value of L, because I want to find out the value of L. So I can write it in this form, that L is simply Q dot divided by pi d log mean temperature difference. And what is the value of Q dot over here? This I can write in terms of MCP T exit minus T inlet, and this is pi d delta T Lm. So if I have all these variables, all these values known to me, I can just plug them, all of them, because m dot is given to me Cp. If this is water, the Cp value I know is 4180 joules per kg Kelvin. So that value is also known to me. T exit, T inlet is known to me, diameter is known to me. The only thing I need to calculate is delta T Lm, which I can do very quickly, because I know the expression for delta T Lm was delta Te delta Ti divided by log delta Te delta Ti. And what is delta Te over here? Ts minus Te, which is 100 minus 80, 20 degrees centigrade. It is this one over here. This is delta Te. What is delta Ti? That is this one, delta Ti. Delta Ti is Ts minus Ti, 100 minus 20 is 80 degrees. These values I can plug in over there. So delta Tm I get, 20 minus 80 divided by log 20 by 80. So I think this thing is very easy to calculate if we have a calculator, and I think I did that calculation. It turns out to be 43 degrees centigrade. So the only point I want to explain over there is that if I had taken the arithmetic mean over here, so then delta T arithmetic mean would have been 80 plus 20 divided by 2, it would have been 50 degrees centigrade, but we are getting a different value, we are getting 43, which means if I plug in 43 over here, and then I can figure out the value of length, and in my calculation it turns out to be 7.4 meters, and this is the correct value. But if I had taken the delta T arithmetic mean, then I would have got, because delta T is higher, I would have got a lower length, and this is a wrong value, because now as a designer, if I purchase a 6.4 meter pipe and then try to do it experimentally, I will fail, because I will not be able to get 80 degree temperature rise. I had underestimated the length, it will be much less. So I think this concept is clear, and this is where I wanted to stop for today's lecture. So this way we will continue in the future lectures. We will also look at different type of Nusselt number value calculation for internal flows. Thank you.